Madison has been a historic river town since 1809, and it has one of the largest National Historic Landmark districts in the country. So of course, there are a lot of ghost stories attached to these buildings. One of them is the historic Broadway Tavern, which has been in business since 1834. The current owner has several stories about it. She purchased the property in 1992, and it was very run down. And as she was making the final arrangements with the previous owner told her that, by the way, the place is haunted. Well, she didn't care much about that. I don't think she really believed in things like that then. So she bought the property and started to fix it up. And she lived there because it had been a hotel. And she said things like she would lock her room and she would come back and the room would always be unlocked, no matter how many times she locked it. Her son lived with her and he liked to play basketball. So one night she was working there and the basketball started rolling down the hallway by itself, went down the steps, bounced as it went down the steps, and went into the bar area where her sister happened to be working. The jukebox came on by itself, but it wasn't playing music from that time period, it was playing music from the 1930s. She's also said that she'd be up there working and there were like 10 rooms on each floor, and one by one each door would slam by itself. So she got a Ouija board to try to figure out who this spirit was, and according to the Ouija board, his name is Charles Morgan. He's a gangster from the 1930s. He was in love with a local woman here whose family didn't approve of him. He was killed by the mob at French Lick, and he says he likes to hang out here for fun. I'm standing in front of the former home of Virginia Jorgensen, who I knew as Ginger. She's the author of the book Ghost of Madison. She liked to write early in the morning, like 2 o'clock in the morning. And she thought she saw something out of the corner of her eye outside. And she kept working, and her pug dog Rumple started barking, and the hair on the dog's back went up. And then she saw a dark shadow move across the kitchen and across the island she had, and then disappeared into a wall. Shortly after that, she said she felt something tugging at her blouse. She closed the laptop she was working on and said enough, and went to bed. She'd been working on this book for over 5 years, and we kept encouraging her to finish it. And so she finished it in 2012. And she was going to have a book signing at the local bookstore. Well, the following Wednesday, I got word that she had passed away suddenly. She was 57 years old. As far as they could tell, the autopsy didn't show any cause of death. She just went to take a nap and passed away. It was interesting that in her book, besides talking about specific incidents, she had a couple chapters about wondering what it was like to be a ghost and what do ghosts want. The creepiest thing for me was, a week after she died, I got a package from her publisher. It was a book signing package. And in the book signing package was a poster and a caption that said, "Meet the author." Well, of course, that wasn't going to happen. One of the stories in the Ghost of Madison book is, we think, related to one of Mr. Lanier's sons, a child named John James and his brother Alexander. They took a carriage ride. It was driven by a servant, and at some point, according to a newspaper account we have, they took the horses into the river to get a drink, and the current was really strong, and the whole carriage was overturned, and the servant and the younger son, John James, drowned. Alexander survived that. But the story is that people who are jogging or driving down by the river early in the morning, especially if it's a foggy morning, they'll see a boy coming out of the river. And they're often very concerned about this because why is this child down here so early? And they go up to speak to the child and he vanishes. Here I am standing in front of the Lanier Mansion. It's part of the Lanier Mansion State Historic Site, one of 16 historic sites across the state, including the Indiana State Museum. And there are several ghost stories related to the Lanier Mansion, but the most famous one is the Lady in Red. A local lady that I know who's a very dependable person, and she was putting garland around the railing here. And as she was putting it around here, she looked up in the mirror across the way, and when she did that, she can see the opening of a door behind me, and she saw the Lady in Red pass behind her. She saw her in the mirror passing behind her. The Lady in Red could be the first Mrs. Lanier who did die in the house. We don't know for sure. We do ghost walks in the fall, which include the mansion, including the basement and the cupola, places we don't show on normal tours, and we tell the ghost stories associated with the house, and then we do walk around the neighborhood and tell a few stories related to other buildings in the area. What I've been talking about are just a few of the many ghost stories associated with Madison, and so I guarantee that if you come to Madison, you'll never be alone.